Right, well, it has been quite a week for me. If I'm a bit scatterbrained, then, well, that's the same as usual, right? We're gonna get on with this first stream of February, and I'm gonna go through, well, we'll have another look at Gridspech, which I've almost finished. And we're gonna also take a look at Railbound again, which we had a look at last year. And some reasons for that, and also touched on Recursive Ruin, which is kind of a first-person puzzler-ish slash narrative game. I might get a delivery in the middle of the stream, which is why this ear is up at the moment. Looking at this now for the doorbell. There's no one else in the house. Can't do streams with other people in the house. So I may disappear for about 2 seconds in the middle of it. But I guess it's time to get on and talk about some of the Thinky Games news. Second month of the year, says David. Yes, it is indeed. Too fast. So, Corey reported on Stuff with a Puzzle Bot coming soon to PC and iOS. So this is a puzzle platformer. So let's have a look at this. Let's just press. Oh God. I've already, see Scatterbrain, I've already forgotten to press the Thinky Games button. It's going to appear any second. There we go. Stuff over the Puzzle Bot is reported by Corey as coming up soon, sometime in the first half of this year. And have a quick look at this. What does it look like? That's a nice lo-fi look. Oh, some it's interesting. I mean, you got moving boxes around and stuff, and stuff like that. Stuff like that. How many puzzle games do I play which don't involve boxes? Actually the first time I've seen this video. I didn't actually click on it before. But yeah, it looks like something I definitely want to have a go at. Yeah, so I'll just stop that. That's Stuff for the Puzzle Bot. So that will be coming to Steam and iOS. And then as Joe posted a piece about Patrick of Patrick's Parabox, going through how he designed Linolith, or should I say Linelith, one of the two. So there's just a shout out to Patrick's post. Then on to the new Thinky releases of January. So we've got Confusion Conveyed, another web. So expansion to Convey Confusion. So if you get confused about which one's first, which one's second, yeah. Carrot Conundrum, a Ludum Dare game. Aha, I didn't say dare this time. Another free thing. Oh, go on. Oh, I'm gonna click it. Look.
Where everything follows a strict order.
Grid-based puzzle game about breaking the fourth wall.
Small bunny will discover a superpower that will break the laws of the comic book page. Play through a mind-bending puzzle game. Eat a lot of carrots. And meddle with the flow of time. Meet your past self, or selves, or many selves, without creating too many paradoxes. Carrot Conundrum.
That looks interesting.
The incredible.
I might give that a go at some point. Oh God, what is it with the squirrel games? Squirrelativity. I can't do this. My wife has problems with the word squirrel. Now I have problems with the word, any word derived from squirrel. So another Ludum Dare game. Two rival groups, squirrels are stocking up for winter. Sort of mostly deductive grid filling in type puzzle game with a fun organic twist. Look interesting. Oh wow. That's nice looking. Fruit Pick Tricks. First person puzzle. First person puzzle platform about picking and throwing fruit. And of course, Gridspech, which we looked at last time, and we'll look at again today. Handshakes, soccer-bound type puzzle game. Get 2 hands through puzzle designed to stump, not frustrate. Let's jump in here. This is on Steam, but free. Oh, I can see the I can definitely see the soccer-bound aspect of it. I feel like I've seen this before. Why? It looks familiar to me. I mean, I don't mean in the last month. I mean like a couple of years ago. Oh, that's strange. David said he's played Squirrel Activity because he wanted me to say it again. 100 Keys to Your Heart, a puzzle platformer. Temple of Starlight came out. Yes, I was wondering whether to try streaming that again, but I wonder if the first part of it would just look exactly the same as the demo I did before. Hermit's New Home. Help Hermit the Crab find the new home, another free game. Sandwich Monster, another free game. Is it a snake slime? Is it an alien monster? It's hungry and only eats jam sandwiches. Okay, another puzzle script. Okay, that's it. Wow, there's the end. Handshakes was on GDQ. That's it. I feel like I saw it a long time ago. Right. Not that many pay for games I see in the list this month. The only one we've got here is... Oh no, we've got 2. 100 Keys to Your Heart. Can try for free. Wow, okay. You look like a key. That's interesting mechanic there with a growing from the plant growing up underneath you. Interesting fluid graphics on this. Might be worth looking at. And Temple of Starlight is not for free. So let's get on to Gridspech. I think that's my Thinky Games reviewed up. Gridspech. So I played this a lot since the last stream, and I made huge fast progress through the game. I was just like ripping through it, and then I hit G and I just ground to a halt. So I'll talk you a little bit through. We first went through last time the sort of this mechanic. So we had like, okay, we've got, it's very kind of it's grid puzzles, and it's more of people would say witness-like, but in terms of mechanics, it will feel a bit more IG-like in this case because it's switching on and off panels. And this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, and then we slowly worked out that what you had to do was you had to be drawing lines between these 2 shapes. So if I do that, it doesn't work. If I do that, it doesn't work because it's not a perfect line. It's got to like, not just going to be connected, it's got to be a single line, start and end. That doesn't work. So you have to draw around there to get a nice line. You know what, let me just 11 here and make it full screen. So that was good. And then I think I stopped around about here last time. So we had this new shape, and find like, okay, you've got to fill that up. It doesn't matter if you leave these undone. The crown shape is unhappy unless you fill everything up. And you move on here, and then find a very similar thing. Okay, so that's not working, that's not working. You've got to fill the whole thing up. This rule didn't take too long to figure out. So, it's like, why do I keep on having to fill the whole thing up? And then finally, you've got a puzzle where you've got some forced whites, and you're like, I just clear it out. You've got some forced whites, so you can't fill everything up. So it can't be like you have to fill the whole area, right? So that doesn't work. That doesn't work. That does. And we just reset it one more time. If I do that, it still doesn't work. And it seems like you have to connect all all of one color up. Like that means connect all of one color up. And then, you know, got this puzzle where I had to draw a line and wasn't sure if this would interrupt the line or not, and it doesn't. And so, okay, great. So it seems like the crown shape had to fill everything of the color it's in. And so then it gets a little bit more elaborate. You needed to make more. You had to make a curve, and the crown is effectively pulling your curve around, and then it gets stuff in space. Then we get on to the D's, and it starts throwing two of them at you, and you're like, whoa, okay, you know, we said we know that the crown meant to fill the whole area, and then you got two crowns, and it's just like, all right, this is kind of blowing my mind a little bit now. What does that mean? And it doesn't take too long to figure out what that means, and then it gets even more complicated because then you start getting white crowns. We've had dark crowns all the way up to this point, but then we start getting the white spaces with crowns on, and they're actually kind of enjoyable. Some of the puzzles kind of teeter on the verge of like, I'm kind of brute forcing it. I'm kind of guessing a little bit. And I'm like, how do I look at a puzzle like this and I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, how do I get through this? But sometimes there are little subtle chinks in the puzzle's armor where you can break through and say, okay, I know, you know, X, Y, and Z. Let's have a look here. Like, what would I say? I mean, I've got to make two paths, and I've got two crowns, and I'm gonna say that probably I'm gonna have to make so we got this dark space. Okay, thing is here, right? If I just do, you know, make those, I can't do them too dark there because it's gonna break the line aspect. If I do that, maybe that works, but that leaves me with a problem, because to make this a line, this is a forced line here, I'm gonna have to mark everything down here as a wall to keep that line encased. This causes you a slight problem with the crown, and this is not solvable. I'm not going to go into the details. I want to flesh out all the details of the crowns if you do come back to it yourselves. So then we got then I'm like, okay, well, I can't go down there, and it really feels like you have to do something a little bit more sophisticated. Maybe I'm supposed to like do, you know, something like this, like so much longer route. Yeah, maybe not that. And I can see now I'm kind of having an issue where I'm going to be able, if I do that, I'm not going to be able to get down here. I'm getting a feeling that if I start doing this, then I'm just going to block that off, right? If you think about it, if I'm going to make a path from here to here, well, how is that going to happen? Because this clear path you leave around here isn't going to be able to get around. So that's kind of like, you can start to see like how things are blocked off. Sometimes there's much more explicit rules where it's just like, okay, yes, X is got to be black and Y has got to be white. But there were some where I was just like, I was really struggling. What do we get in F? Oh yeah, we got these dots, and the dots are pretty straightforward. You can guess what the dots mean, right? You've got to have that many filled in spaces around the dot. So if I do something like that, let me just do that, see it. Both of them fail. If I add another one here, see this one no longer flashing, so I've satisfied it. And just to be clear, something occurred to me like Taiji, if you highlight it, maybe it reverses how it works. No. It needs 3 lit up next door. So these were very easy to figure out. I mean, you've seen these kind of things before in other puzzle games. So then you have to make a path which somehow satisfies the criterion of 3 neighbors. Actually, I think I skipped the whole section which started off with 1 dot. So you're thinking like, well, I need a path, and how am I gonna do, like, how am I gonna do 3 neighbors? You start to focus on the 3 neighbors issue. So if I do that, well, I can't do that, right? I can't do that, it'll break the line. And if I do that, I don't get a line. So the thing is, you can't make a clear line because you're going to end up with this T shape around a 3. Whatever you do, it's always going to cut off the other one, right? You can't make a clear path all the way through. It's always blocking it off somehow. So I ended up like, right, well, it's got to be a path of white, not a path of dark between these 2 corners. And the question was, well, how are these 3 going to be arranged? And how was it? How was it now, Joel? How did you work it out? Yeah, so you have to make sure that follows a path. So yeah, that doesn't look good either, does it? How did I solve it? I've already forgotten. Yeah. I had a solution just now. If I exit and come back, it'll have the entire solution for me. That didn't look right, because you've got to have a single path. How would you have a single path if you're going to have 3 neighbors to it, right? Maybe it is a clear path after everything I said, but no, that's not possible. If you see, a clear path will get stuck there. Ah, maybe that is it. No, I can't see it. Because, okay, that's made a path. But then I still have the problem over here with it's going to cut that off if I use 3 neighbors. So, see then. Ah, but the middle one doesn't have to be filled up, does it? That's what I missed. The middle one doesn't have to be filled up. So something like that, I think. Something like that. No. Here we go. That's not it. If I just the path is the issue. Is it actually a clear path then? I gotta concoct. But I'm still thinking that's a bit of an issue, right? So it can sneak underneath here. Still don't get our path. We're going to block that off one way or the other, right? Man, you know when I did this? Like, I just sat down and I'm like, oh yeah. I had been working through all these dot puzzles for quite some time. And it was like pretty quick, you know, I got it. 3, 1, 2, 3. See, that's wonderful. That's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Gotta go around there somehow. I still end up with this awkward. Maybe it's around like that. Ah, yes, there we go. So up, down, and around. We've got our path, and we've got the 3 next to each other. Honestly, that took me like about a minute when I played that before. But you have had a whole tutorial of similar ones. Now, I lost a whole week to G. I could not work out this symbol at all. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it took me such a struggle. I think some people just get it, but I didn't get it. So the first one starts up as always, like, okay, well, the crown is satisfying, so it's got all the black ones. But that's not good enough. Or what about, well, that's obviously not going to work because the crown doesn't work, but that doesn't keep this symbol happy. And all right, when I fill it up, it's fine. Okay, great. And similarly next, like, oh, well, I got 2 of these shapes now. So what, do I have to just join them up? Well, nothing's happy. And well, these, you know, you've got to have the crowns have got to be like this. I mean, I can't have 2 of these crowns in the same area. And to be honest, the crowns kind of propel you to solving it this way. Even if you have these other little symbols, it's a bit difficult to solve any other way. But, and I was just like, I actually managed to sort of brute force a little bit through these, thinking, oh, I'm sure it will come to me. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And it started getting to levels where I was like, look, okay, I'm kind of guessing constantly. I really don't know what I'm doing. And I did actually go looking for a walkthrough. And I didn't see anybody explain what these symbols meant anywhere. So it was basically down to me trying to figure it out. And eventually I had a small brainwave. Maybe it is this. And yeah, it was that. And I was very pleased. And I was able to start making progress again. A whole week. I mean, I just started working on all the harder puzzles. And H introduces these crazy things. You can probably guess what that means. And boy, some of these puzzles get really crazy. I did enjoy them, to be honest. They are very different to solve. But much more different from the rest because there's much more kind of worry you have in terms of breaking the puzzle's rules. And then finally, and I'm not going to reveal what this is, there's the last line, which actually these symbols here are not the last line. They appear a bit further back. But there's another extra mechanic going on here. And I was a little bit of a groan when I saw it because I thought, well, yeah, okay. It's just like, oh, it's like, now let's do the puzzles with an extra thing. And it's like, I don't know. Quite sure how to explain that without spoiling it completely. But, you know, you may get then go, oh dear, very good. I was a little bit of a groan. I don't think it'll take me too long to get through them, but I am kind of feel a little bit of brute force coming out in my solutions and my puzzle solving. So that was Gridspech. I'm sure I'll have that done soon, but I can recommend it if you like that kind of, you know, that taiji witness grid-based puzzles, understand where you don't know actually what's going on. And you have to figure them out. I mean, we've gone, some of it has been spoiled here, I guess, if you haven't played it already. But I've tried to keep some of the later stuff free of thinky meddling, so to speak. So I think that's good time to stop on Gridspech. And what I'm going to do now, we're going to bring it, well, maybe I should just stay on there actually. Hang on. Let's bring up Railbound. So they've actually had an update. Zoom in. So what they've done, they've added 30 new puzzles, and there's got 2 new worlds. World 9 is more of a gentle break you back into the game if you haven't played it for a little while, and World 10 is like hard puzzles, and there's a new mechanic. Which they call semaphores, that allows you to decide how to delay cars in order to avoid crashes. So if you've got the game already, then there's another 30 levels in there for you to finish. And if you haven't, then there's now 200 levels in total. So I'm going to go back into the game a bit. I made a lot more progress on Railbound afterwards, but I slowed down a lot, so I've ended up not going back to it as much as I'd like. So let's bring up the game so I can show you where I've not got to. Open up, open up. Open behind everything. Okay, where are we? Bring up the game. Alright, so I've got to the World 6. I haven't got any further past there. I was slowing down. I think it's very interesting. I think there are some levels I find I are very quick. You know, I'm just like doop 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 done. I don't even need to think about them. I'm just putting things down and just editing. It's like I put down a random solution that kind of looks like it might work, doesn't work. I edit a little bit, and then it falls out. And then there are other levels where I'm like, what is going on here? I don't even know where I go here. And I think the one which I was stuck on for ages is 4-5. This was just like a nightmare. I could not figure out how to do this. It's pure brute force. Some of the Railbound puzzles come down to synchronization issues, where you've got the trains and you've got to put the carriages in the right order. That's one problem, and you've got to make sure that they don't bang into each other. And these end up to a lot of synchronization issues where sometimes they're out of order to begin with, and you have to make sure they come around the right way. And you can use loops and stuff to delay them. And it gets a little bit crazy here because you've got like these orange and pink buttons, which will, they're switches, which will change the order of the tracks. So if I just send this guy around here, you'll notice this carriage will go up here. When it hits this pink button, this purple will flip over to the right side here. So just send it a little bit more. Let's put it in a loop. So it keeps on flipping around. Which means that when you're trying to put together two carriages together and they've got to take different routes at different times, and these buttons will flip them back and forth, I found it really, really hard to sort of. Some of these puzzles were just too much for me in terms of figuring out the synchronization, and this was the one I got stuck on for ages. I mean, I would just bring up Railbound, look at this puzzle because I'd finished everything else I could, and this was just the block. I couldn't get through this one. So you might think, okay, so they both need to go here. One needs to go out. One can't go out here. Maybe flip that over. Maybe I can hit that button. But actually, it doesn't matter if you come around here. You're going to be sent back this way, right? Because this purple, there's actually no way for one just to get to the end. You're going to be stopped either way. If you go this way, orange takes you up. Oh, hello, Joe. You turned up a little bit late. I'm going to dock your pay. And one down here. No worries. Let's see. So on one is going to come around the back here. The purple's going to force you around this way anyway. So what do I want to have happen? So if I do this, have it come down here, the orange is going to be flipped around, and then my number one will come up here. You could just run the experiment, but at a certain point, just running experiments is just not good enough. And that flips around there, and then, okay, well, maybe I can send 2 in down here, and that will go over there, but 2's going to obviously make it before number 1 ever comes back around, right? So if I hook them up like that, and I could do something like this. Obviously this isn't the wrong solution because you've still got 3 tracks left and there's this funky thing down the bottom that's waiting. You set up the exit. There you go, already had a problem. What happens is one goes around, flips the orange, and flips the purple. This goes down, and the hell did it happen? Hang on a second. One goes down. And that's what happened. One doesn't reach this pink button in time. So 2 comes around again. So that's obviously not going to work. I'm not going to solve this right now. This is the hardest puzzle I played, and I'm not going to go through it. I'm just going to go through some of the thinking I had, and then I said, how I got stuck. Maybe this has to be diverted off somewhere. You're thinking maybe something like that. That will delay it. So maybe it's something like this. So 1 will then... See, that's not going to work, is it? So although you'll make 2 take longer coming here, what's going to happen is that 1 will just take so long coming back around. And is there any way of getting it back around more quickly? I don't think so. Unless, you can't join down here either. You could try and make a loop, but then at this point I'm thinking, oh Jesus, what's going to happen? Who presses what when? I don't think it's going to work because the orange... Well, let's just see what happens. Okay, so 2 is now delayed. It will go to the end. 1 can't get around in time. And then, 1 is flipped around the wrong direction. And honestly, I was really struggled with this puzzle. Eventually I got it, and it was more or less for random watching of things. But there are a lot of the puzzles are just like speed through. Now this is like not one of the extra hard ones. It's 4-5, which is hidden behind my head. This is 4-5. So actually some of the harder ones I got through without too much difficulty. In 5, it starts getting a bit more like you'll have Cosmic Express vibes because you're taking passengers to destinations. And I think I remember this is a very satisfying puzzle where it took me time to figure out what the solution should be. So in these puzzles here, you've got in the snow zone, you've got to take you've got to pick up passenger number 1 in carriage number 1. Passenger number 2 is going to go in carriage number 2. So it's first class and second class. It's obviously not very good if you're in second class. You'd have to take a longer journey. You can't get there before the first class. So I'm looking at this and like 1 has somehow got to go through here. So I'm immediately thinking, okay, well if 1 goes through there, picks up number 1, and but it's got to come down here too. So let's just see, if I just do a solution that looks something like this, right? This is obviously not going to work. 2's not going anywhere. Let's just see it play out. And 1 picks up. There's a little delay when they stop and pick up a person. Right, so that's fine. What happens if we just get 2 into this, and maybe we can get 2 to come back around like that. Does this work? No, because I didn't look, and you could see this was turning in here, which means number 2 is just going to obviously turn round where you don't want it to. So the issue then is like, well, can I do something like that? But now I've run out of track. I can get 1 piece there. There we go. So I'm thinking 1 will come around down here and then up that way. 2 will come around and go the full loop like that. And the question is, what's the timing? I guess you can count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it doesn't look like that's going to work. I don't even need these tracks anymore, do I? Maybe like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It gets there earlier. So let's just see. I feel like I'm gonna miss something. Oh, this close. All right, looks good. There you go. So I kind of I can work my way through that. Hello, Ubu Noir. Welcome to the Thinky Games stream. just showing a bit of Railbound here. Railbound I've played rather than Railbound I haven't played. So that's the 5s, and I've got on to World 6. And World 6, what's the thing about World 6? Oh yeah, you got these little... What have we got? I've forgotten already. Right, so you've got these buttons which flip the direction of the track. So that first one solved itself. Of course it solved itself. I've already solved these. That's my solution track I've got there. This one was a tricky one, I remember. I mean, you take it on, you're thinking, okay, so one has to go through. You can see it goes straight through, great. But then you want to get 2 coming up. But what happens is when one goes through, it changes direction. Sorry, Joe, didn't see your comments. Yes, stopping for the passengers affects the timing too, and that can be useful in the solution. And of course, I say useful. All of these are heavily designed. You can't say, well, I found another way. I'm not sure if there are multiple solutions for these. That reminds me of Gridspech, actually. I think Gridspech was supposed to have one solution for every screen, and it would tell you if you found a novel solution, and the developer was changing the game so that to take out all the additional solutions. Is that a good thing? I don't know. I guess it depends if the additional solutions were very easy. So if I do this, what's going to happen? The second one's going to turn left. And I think, of course, it's natural then just to send him back up. To see. Oh no. Well, that's rubbish. I hit at the same time. So do I have to delay or? That's the thing. If I do that, it's going to have the same problem. It's going to hit each other, right? So what happens then? It's turned downwards, so maybe the loop. There we go. So I don't think it was too tricky at all. It wasn't very tricky at all. It was quite like methodical, one step after another. Yeah, and then you start getting this kind of stuff. I mean, here's my solution state. And it's like, wow. But, you know, sometimes it falls out. You think it's complicated. You start putting it together. It's like, oh, wait a second. If I just delay this train a second, it's fine. But, oh, good morning, Marcus Dawn. So, yeah, I'm still working through it. But we've got these additional World 9 and World 10. I have no idea what's up here. And I believe this hash world was always here. I think they've added a level or 2 to this one as well. But yeah, I kind of enjoyed Railbound, although I have some really tricky levels I get stuck on. And I'm never quite sure how to make progress without effectively brute forcing. I have some good levels and some really quick levels, some really satisfying levels, and some brute force levels. I think Corey didn't feel when he reviewed it that he didn't really feel like it held him up very much. Like he just went straight through it. So maybe you'll find the same thing. You won't get stuck like I have been getting stuck occasionally. So the fact that I got stuck should be heartwarming for you. It's not as easy, and you know, as Corey said, you just place them down. That some of us can get stuck, like me. Right. Well, that's you know, I wanted, as much as I really wanted a show of Railbound. Didn't want to start playing through the levels. Okay, so it's Joe saying he felt a little bit bad because he ranted a fair bit about some of the complexity at the end of his playthrough. Some of the puzzles drove him to insanity, but he still thinks it's a lovely game. Yeah, and it's always nice to have another Cosmic Express type game. You know, I loved Cosmic Express an awful lot. It's very dear, very close to my heart. Almost as close as Stephen's Sausage Roll. But yeah, Railbound is lovely. So I think I should go on to Recursive Ruin, which I had to play a bit of to know how thinky it was. And I can say it is actually thinky. So let me just come out of the game. Alt F4 for speed. Recursive Ruin. Now, I've had to reduce the graphical settings for this because when I did test, and my god, streaming was very slow originally. So I'm hoping it's gonna work for you. So Marcus Don says difficult puzzles do not ruin a game as long as they're more or less optional. That's true. I think my problem was that one I got stuck on was a blocker. You couldn't get through. It wasn't one of the A's or B's, which surprised me. So here we go. This is Recursive Ruin. And my test to know if the graphical splendor is slowing down the stream is looking at the fluid, the liquid at the bottom there. If it's stuttering, we're in trouble. I'm not getting any encoder alarms. So this is Recursive Ruin. I saw it a while back. I stuck it on my own site saying like, oh, this looks kind of curious. And I didn't know what it was, and I saw the I can't remember his name. Get Dizzy on Twitter. Who wrote created Barry Ball, and as an IGF judge said this is really interesting. So I'm gonna jump into it. I'm gonna select a later level. So strange eons, no echoes, I think. Hey, Oriane. So we've already done a few levels, and I'll talk a bit more about why I've skipped levels later. So I've turned down the graphical splendor, but this looks roughly what you'd expect to see. So there are these panels you see everywhere when they were kind of part of the tutorial telling you what to do. But at this point onwards, as it says, future messages will be hints. Only read these if you want help. I haven't used any of these. I used one by accident. I just clicked on it, just like, oh, a clicky thing, and then he told me what to do in the puzzle. So we can open this up, and you can see there's a long fall down there. So let's just go and do that, and that is clearly what you're not supposed to do. So we have 2 tools at our disposal at this point. I don't know if there's any more to come. They talk about completionism in the chat, whether completionism is a bug, not a feature of the human mind. We're discussing a bit about those extra Railbound puzzles. They're too hard. Can you just leave them? This is what happens if I press the right mouse click. You get this, what it calls a shift. And I'm not sure I can describe what it's actually doing. So here we go, we're down on terra firma now. And I'm gonna just walk down here. And you should be able to tell I'm not actually making any progress. This is infinite. Hence the recursive ruin, the recursive word in the title. If there's one little annoying thing about the recursiveness, it's that when you go step from one copy to the other, oops, there's a little bit of a pause. You can feel it. I know it looks like I'm just climbing down here, but there's been many other times where I felt a slight pause, but it's fine. So let's press the right click button to see what happens if I pull it all back, and then now I've got the gaps in again. I'm not exactly sure what the right click is doing. It's like it's creating multiple copies with spaces in, and then you take the spaces out, so you just changing the recursion to be up next against you or farther into the distance. So it's very interesting. You can have a good old look around. You can, what are we looking at here? And the graphics are interestingly messy, if you know what I mean. There's a sort of fractalness to them. My god, I'm just inventing words now. So everybody got lots of reminders here. Null Pointer Games saying it's like Mirror Drop. Joe says it's Bowser's Staircase in Mario 64. Crowleyson is saying it's Manifold Garden-like. And Marcus Don says it reminds him of the Library of Blabber. So question is where to go. So obviously you follow the red lines. You see jump on the screen. And you can jump here, but nothing will happen. Just jump. Nothing. But red lines usually mean you need to switch something on. So let's follow the red line. Now here's something interesting actually. I saw this, right? I saw that, ooh, maybe I can jump over there, right? I've got this platform I can jump over, and I tried jumping many times and it didn't happen. And I even tried like, oh, if I just, you know, use the shift and I can try and do the jump. And then I was like, don't be an idiot, Joel. That's where you are. I'm trying to jump here. It's recursive. I don't need to jump over there. I can't believe I wasted 5 minutes trying to make a jump to the same place. But I can kill myself. I think if I go here, the yellow thing comes straight in. No, it didn't kill me this time. It killed me last time. It should show your recurring body, thinks Null Pointer. I did think about that. Okay. But I don't think they want you working with yourself in the other worlds. In the recursive worlds, and that would be... I don't think that mechanic is not really... Well, I haven't seen it. It might come in later, for all I know. So, as you can see, there's a doorway there, and as I get too close to this sphere, it locks it up. I can't get through. And the solution is to just hop along to the side here, because it's slightly offset. So maybe as a ghost then, Null Pointer Game says, just to know not to try to get a copy you're already on. That is an interesting point. The graphics are very interesting. So there's a lot of weird graphics. There's a lot of weird stuff in this game, which even with its more mundane parts makes it all worth the while. You can come in here. Then, okay, another yellow. That line's gone yellow. Honestly, sometimes I just play with, you know, moving things back and forth. It's very nice and smooth. Just play with it a lot. Let's keep on going. Notice that sphere has disappeared now. Follow this around. Ah, yes. Yeah, the graphics remind Orion of old Orhouse experiments. Obsolete and stuff. Yeah, there's a little part of me that mourns their passing. So, I don't see any more graphical experiments from Orhouse. That's not working, so obviously they've got to do this other red line. Where the hell is that going? Down there. So that's quite yeah, just follow the arrow, everybody. Okay, so as you'll see, there's a small port down here. So the other power we have is, as you can see, it's quite obvious in the corner. Shrink. Okay, so just go down here. I'm going to use the shift to speed up a little bit. Yeah, I think Memories of a Broken Dimension, which everybody's talking about in the chat, is still in development. How many years has that been in development now? Quite a lot. I remember playing the demo. Being freaked out by it. Okay, just following the red line. Okay, now we're in this space here, which quite clearly it's going off into, you can see it's just recursing. And then, I don't know if this is necessary to do, but it's nice to just pop your head out and look outside. It's like, you know, slice down some kind of solid rock of magma or something. Yeah. Just talking a little bit in the chat here about whether XRA will actually finish Memories of a Broken Dimension. The problem is the longer you take making a game, the more you start to see other people produce stuff which might feel like similar to what you're working on. And it won't feel as fresh anymore, and then you'll feel like the need to regroup, and that's always the worry. I have that when I'm doing my films sometimes, where, you know, I feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this point, and then, you know, things have moved on, people have already made that point, you know, or I'm writing an article and like, oh, other people have already written about it. Damn. So we've got this blocking out access here. So what happens if we use the right click again? Okay, we've sent the spear off into the distance, so now we can make it down this corridor here. Again, honestly, there's no real reason for this room except to just look out. So, I mean, just spend your time pressing right click and watching how everything coalesces and stretches out. Okay, I'm getting hit by that again. Right. So actually being touched by this beam means I can go up here. That's the little pause I'm talking about. This is actually a seamless connection, but my character will suddenly stoop for a second. Like that. Because that's where the break is. So again, you can just look here. But now I can fall down here. Okay. Now, if you fall down, I think all the way down, on the bottom, there's this black fluid down here. If you fall into that, then that's, you know, game over. It's a reset. You know, it's death, I guess, in some sense. But the checkpoint, there's a checkpoint that seems to follow you. It's not quite clear when a checkpoint is, but it does tend to follow you. Okay, let's keep on going this way. Have I got confused which direction I'm going? I think it's this direction. Okay. Let's put everything back. Okay, so go this way, I guess. Okay, and then there's this kind of interesting is the map of this game in my head of these levels. I mean, I don't have a map. Obviously, there's like a single level, if you put it that way, and it just sort of gets repeated, and then you're allowed to thread around this level. But like, I have no idea where I am in terms of where I started from. I'm down somewhere, and I find that fascinating. That I find it difficult to put a map together in my head. Sorry, you have a purple wall there. However, in the fact that even though it's difficult to map, so far I've not found it very difficult. It's fairly obvious a lot of the time where to go. I mean, I say that. The start of this level, I spent a long time. You can actually fall all the way down and land somewhere if you're careful about it near the edge of the black water. And so I thought I had to go down there for a while, and I didn't follow the red lines. Feels like just like where I came earlier. I don't think it is. Shift there just to see. Okay. Okay. Now we can come out. And then finally we get to that switch we saw ages ago. It's ages ago. Remember, I was looking through here. Obviously I can just go straight back if I wanted. And let's press this button. And then you jump here. And this is where some of the narrative starts to play in. So there are a lot of conversations. This isn't the whole game, what you see here. There's a lot more going on in terms of what this really means, and I'll jump into the start of the game later. So there's a lot of kind of non-puzzly aspects, more like kind of like stepping through stuff, walking around, clicking things. I wanted to start off with showing you the puzzly aspects.
How many kilograms of flesh per second can be drained out?
Current projections have been invalidated. This will require further calibration and spectral analysis.
Time to make up for your lack of appendages. Figure it out.
There is an interesting amount of uncertainty in the system. This will significantly impede the calculation. Internal regret levels are increasing.
Shh. Someone's here.
Yeah, that would be me.
Look, you really shouldn't be here. We've got a small, crisis on our hands. Please go.
Of course, I mean, there's nothing to do except carry on talking.
Wait, did Elric send you? We have been expecting an emissary. Your contemplative residuals have exceeded saturation. This will require adjustments.
The emissary of strange aeons home. A lofty title for a bound indeed. Perhaps your abilities warrant such a title. Tell us, emissary, how did you manage your way into here?
Good question.
I see. Impressive. However, I am concerned with the readings my instrument has detected in your self-reflexive myrions. These readings in your corporeal form are inconsistent with the emissary's projected psychophysical makeup.
Your current form will require further modulation. There will be pain. However, current calculations predict tissue damage will not exceed ligament structural integrity.
So, Marcus Don is quoting me a story. No, I don't mind a story if it's interesting. Is this an interesting story? I don't know. It's weird, but you might find there's a little bit too much clicking and listening. You can speed up the talking by pressing T.
This is not what I was.
It will work. They need only emissary. You'll have more.
So I can. If you don't care about it, you just flick through it, and then you end up back here. Who cares about skin? So I'm not going to finish the level. Well, it's difficult, but I'll just show you how the game starts, and it's in a very different place. Now, I didn't actually check whether I'm going to get encoding problems as soon as this opens up. But so I saw all that kind of cool stuff, you know, in the trailers, and I thought, well, when's that going to come? You know, because this is how it starts. And you do have a reflection here, and you just go around and your apartment, and it's interesting that the textures of everything have been replaced with this grey kind of fractal nonsense. You'll make some comment So you have a voice.
I used to be an artist. I thought it was something special. Now well, I don't know what I am.
So, actually, he can see something here which you can't, because he will describe stuff in detail sometimes, and you're thinking, well, I can't see anything. I even, I tell you what, I did actually look up someone else's walkthrough online to see if it was just a bug, that maybe there were supposed to be textures here, and they aren't. They aren't supposed to be textures here. It's all right. And then I noticed there's like, you know, something down here, and it turns out to be a cat. So I mean, you go around and you click various things, and then you listen to the guy talk to himself. Again, your mileage will vary with this stuff. I mean, there are obviously a lot of games about people having difficulties in life and grief. A lot of puzzles come down to whether a lot of puzzle games sometimes will try and find some kind of emotion to drive them up. Like, this puzzle represents your actual emotions being you're fixing your emotions or whatever, and I feel like this game is a little bit like that. So I'm not too enamored with the story, but it drives you through such interesting places that I don't care really at the moment. You can't pet the cat at the moment, but I will say you can talk to the cat at various points. So let's have another look. Just show you very... Oh, see you, Marcuston. Have a good day. And I'll just jump to another level, just very briefly, to show you like how different places. Wait, what am I doing? That was what we started. Which one do I want? This one. So null pointer games wish they didn't have a narrative, much prefer the cold alien architecture approach of stuff like Naissance E and Venineth. So you see this level is very different. Really different kind of thing going on here.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel you have reached this recording in error, please check the number and try your call again.
And, you can keep on going. But there's still a sense where there's a lot of the recursion in the game that there's a lot of aspects. The recursiveness is not simply in that environment. We also get a bit of recursiveness in some of the... I can't explain it, but there's sort of recursiveness in the game idea in certain areas as well. The narrative also has this kind of recursion in it. So I'll point to game saying he's being harsh. Sometimes it's great, but often it feels a bit pasted on because it's expected by the market or whatever. And yeah, that is true. I'm not necessarily a massive fan of stories in puzzle games. I think a lot of the time they don't do very much. I mean, there are some exceptions. I did like the kind of underlying story and principles of The Witness. I very much liked the Talos principle, the Talos principle, however we want to pronounce it. But particularly the second game, the DLC for it, the Road to Gehenna, which is a lot more involving. But sometimes puzzles are just a bit like... Stephen's Sausage Roll is an interesting one. It doesn't seem to have much of a story, but there is something there, and it is slightly involving. It's very thin. Outer Wilds is great for story, environmental storytelling. See, I agree on that score, but Joe was just saying Outer Wilds is a good one, but I tend to feel it more of an adventure game rather than like an explicit puzzle game. What I mean is, like, if you have a soccer band game with blocks some to push around, then it's like difficult to get a game around that. But Outer Wilds feels much more like an adventure. We even had an argument about the word adventure in the comments and on my site last week. I just want to stop in here quickly just so you can see some of the other interesting graphics. Some of the character design is really, really interesting.
And who is this? It is rare for a being to find their way into the center of the infinite wells. Let's see what you can do. Think you can find your way out of this room?
So yeah, Joey's brought up Keen. Is it Keen or Keenet? I'm never quite sure how that's pronounced, but Keenet was interesting. The story wasn't forced, and it was kind of I really loved it. It's very cute, cute game. I was terribly bad at it. I've never finished it. I've restarted twice, and I always get stuck around the same point. But Keen is pretty good. I do like the bouncy, joyous aspect of that game. But yeah, I don't really want to show you too much more of Recursive Ruin, because if you do want to see it, I think it's going for like about £10, £11 or something at the moment. But yeah, I feel like I should just stop playing because I'm just going to show too much more. But I want to show another bit of the character design. Let me just save and quit there. Oh, it literally saved and quit the game. Okay. So I think it might be a good time to stop there. Otherwise, I could just pull up some like one of the examples from the the releases this month. But what's going to happen? I'll just get sucked into it for half an hour, and I'll overshoot my hour again. But man, some of these look really interesting. So I'm playing through Recursive Ruin. I probably won't stream it again because I think I'll end up showing too much, and part of the reason you want to play this game is to see the interesting things. So can't really afford to spoil it. I might come back and give you a little bit of I might talk about how it ended, how I felt about it, but I'll probably won't show any more of it. Man, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. I really want to play Temple of Starlight again. That was a good game. So yeah, we'll leave it there. I hope you enjoyed looking at some of these things. Gridspech's definitely worth your time. Railbound, I have been enjoying it, even though I got stuck. And Recursive Ruin is not that difficult, and looks interesting. I haven't got stuck in it once yet. But you might find it a bit tedious because some of the levels, the one we just saw with the kind of the grey corridor, there's no puzzles to solve there. It's literally just walking around and clicking, listening to narrative. So beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess. I will leave it there today, and catch up with you again in 2 weeks' time. All right, thanks everybody.